Okay, Haribol, welcome to our Sunday night Zoom meeting with Ishan Prabhu. Go ahead, Ishan Prabhu. You can introduce the topic and then we can continue the discussion, Prabhu.
Okay. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale
Please.
Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini Namo Mahabhadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratushe Namaha Namo Brahmanaya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitayacha Jagat Hitai Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We're talking about today inquiry, submission, and service. Inquiry, submission, and service, as described in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna himself, chapter 4, verse 34. There is, I talk about this a lot because I think it's important. There is a strong belief, a consensus of opinion, a consensus of understanding or lack of understanding, that the ability to love in Krishna consciousness is that when we have a revelation of Krishna, then we'll be able to love. The consensus is that when we have a revelation, then we will have love of Krishna. Our philosophy, our Vaishnava philosophy, is that a revelation of Krishna is based on the ability to love. It's not that when we have a revelation, then we will be able to love, but when we're able to love, then we will have a revelation. Bhaktir mam abhijanati. I do not reveal myself, Krishna explains, to anyone unless they approach me with love. So that might be a bit of a complexity or a confusion, a source of confusion. Well, how do I get this? Where do I get this? So there's a great deal of there are three modes of material nature. The mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, and the mode of goodness. And we are encouraged, we're instructed very strongly to raise ourselves, to cultivate the mode of goodness. In the mode of passion, there's lust, kama. This is the underlying or the overpowering influence of the mode of passion. The mode of passion, one becomes very fruitive. One has the conviction. Krishna explains that when the spirit soul comes in touch with the material energy, becomes influenced by the mode of passion. And then his eternal loving propensity becomes expressed as lust, as kama. This is an amazing concept. It means that we're never without love of Krishna. It's just that it's expressed differently under the influence of the mode of passion. When the Krishna explains this I think in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that when the spirit soul comes in touch with the mode of passion, his eternal loving propensity becomes expressed as lust. It's just like a clear light projected through a clear lens. If that same clear light is projected through a red lens, it comes out red, but it's actually the same light, but it's taking on this different color. So we are never without this love, but it's expressed differently. And so Krishna explains that this expression of love it occupies 3 places in the material body. This is all in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that this lust expresses itself through the senses, through the mind, and through the intelligence. That when intelligence influenced by lust, lusty intelligence, Srila Prabhupada explains in the 3rd chapter, induces the spirit soul to acquire the false ego. The more we try to enjoy ourselves independent of Krishna's enjoyment, the stronger our false ego becomes. So the idea is that's why we are encouraged to come to the mode of goodness. When we come to the mode of goodness, serving propensity, it's the nature of the mode of altruism, humanitarianism. A person starts to take pleasure in service, whereas in the mode of passion, the propensity is simply to satisfy my senses. The intelligence, the conviction becomes very strong in the heart that I will be satisfied if I can satisfy myself independently. If I can satisfy my senses, I'll be happy. We have this conviction. It's so strong in us. And more subtly than the gross senses is satisfy the mind. that my social position, my position in society, my reputation, my fame, my power materially relative to others, my home, my body. I want to make it very strong, and people will lift weights. So, and they do all kinds of exercises, and you go on the street, people are running. So they're thinking that this is all about my social position and my physical position. There's a conviction in the heart that if I can satisfy my senses and satisfy my mind, I'll feel fulfilled. It is explained by Krishna that we're never fulfilled in this way. We may have some momentary, little tiny pleasure, like a drop of water in the desert, but we remain unfulfilled. Therefore, Krishna says, this orientation that we call lust or kama, it's like a fire in us. And the more we try to feed that fire, the more we try to satisfy ourselves, the bigger the fire becomes. It's not satisfied, but the desires become even stronger. So Krishna, it makes people mad. It makes people crazy. Therefore, we have endless competition, one person to another. And one country to another. Wars, simply because of this desire which burns like a fire and never set. And then when it's not satisfied, there's frustration. And when that frustration continues, one becomes angry. And then there's animosity, resentment, and there's fighting, one to one or country to country. And it's all done with the conviction that if we do this, it'll make us happy. So this is a madness. It's the all-devouring enemy of the whole world, this lust. So we have to come, and then when we become angry, that becomes the mode of ignorance. So passion and ignorance, the whole world is under the influence of passion and ignorance, and their love of Krishna, influenced by karma, is causing so much pain and suffering that we're learning by bitter experience, by painful, heartbreaking experience. The idea is, the hope is that we'll learn that this orientation of self-centeredness, that I want to be Krishna, that I want to be the most important person, that I want to be the most loved, that I want to be the most powerful, that I want to be the most intelligent, the most famous, the most beautiful, that I want to be that, instead of acknowledging that this is Krishna's position and my position is to worship him. this desire to take that position, it now becomes experienced as painful experience. Birth after birth after birth. So much suffering. So the idea is that Krishna is trying to turn the boat around. Krishna is trying, we are in therapy in this material consciousness, self-centered, lusty consciousness. We are in therapy that Krishna has created this situation where we can have a chance of trying to be Krishna, but it is so painful that it's supposed to cause us. It's supposed to cause us to question, why am I suffering like this? Why am I not happy? So when it is gradually reducing our pride, reducing this desire to be the most important, the most, the center of everyone. If you throw a stone into a pool of water, it makes all these rings in the water, clear water, quiet water. But if you throw many stones into the water, as those rings expand, they interfere with each other. They clash. So if you have a world full of millions of souls or billions of souls who all want to be Krishna, there's so much of a clash, so much of a clash. So if people think, oh, but there's so much suffering in the material world, why would God make such suffering? Actually, the spirit soul is not cut by any weapon. It's not wet by water. It's not burnt by fire. It's not withered by the wind. Nothing is happening to the soul. But we're having a dream. It's a kind of hypnotherapy. We're hypnotized by the influence of the material nature to identify that this body and mind, that this is me. But it's not me at all. It's not who we are, but we're having a dream. It's just that at night we have a dream, and that dream is composed of mental energy, very subtle material energy. And in the daytime, we're having a dream, but the dream is gross. It's a gross dream. It's made of material energy, just like the dream at night. But instead of it being subtle material energy, it's gross material energy. And in that dream, we're suffering, but nothing's happening to us. But we're experiencing it, that it's real. But nothing's happening to us. So we're in therapy. We're hypnotized by the material energy. We're in hypnotherapy, and to gradually give us the feeling, the understanding that this is not working. And what is the solution? So Atato Brahma Jignasa, Vedanta Sutra said, now that we've come to the human form of life, one should inquire, what is the truth? What we have so many, why are we having so much philosophy? There are so many philosophers, they're trying to understand the human condition. And what is life? How do we find our happiness? That inquiry is there. But the real answers are only coming down from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He comes himself, or he sends his representatives. He gives us so many scriptures, Bible, Quran, Veda. So that is the answer to our question, why am I suffering? We're suffering because we're envious of Krishna. And that envy is being expressed that we're envious of each other because we all want Krishna's position for ourselves. So what is the way out? Therefore, it is explained these three modes of material nature. This is just like you're on the freeway and you have to find an exit to get to our destination. We have to find an exit. So the exit is the mode of goodness. Therefore, in so many places in our literatures explain how Krishna loves the Brahman. Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha. Namo Brahmanaya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha. That Krishna loves the Brahmins. And Krishna loves Brahminical life. Why is it that it's explained that when the Brahmin went from Rukmini with a message to Krishna, Krishna received him. And Krishna worshipped the Brahmin, put him on his own bedstead, massaged his feet, gave him things to eat, and then said, expressing that the quality of the Brahmin that Krishna loves. What is that quality in the Brahmin that Krishna loves? That the Brahmin is always self-satisfied. The Brahmin, usually the expression of the Brahmin, that he's living a very, very simple life. He's not not acquiring more things. He's not on Amazon.com ordering this and that for satisfaction, clothing, sports equipment, so many things, unlimited things. The Brahmin can live very simply, but he's not being artificially austere. He's self-satisfied. He's finding and is not looking for his satisfaction outside. He's feeling satisfaction inside. So Krishna explains in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that this quality called mana prasada. Mana prasada is translated two ways in the 17th chapter, that in the word for word, Srila Prabhupada translates mana prasada, satisfaction of the mind. And in the verse, serenity. And Krishna says that one who practices this he calls the austerity of the mind. The austerity of the mind, Krishna says, in the mode of goodness is to practice, cultivate this satisfaction of the mind, this serenity. This is the mode of goodness, that one is serene. He lives in this mode. And because he's satisfied inside himself, he's not looking for things outside. The conviction that I will be satisfied in the heart, a conviction. There's no question. If I get this, I'll be happy. If I get that, I'll be happy. If I get that, I'll be happy. If I can satisfy my tongue, if I can satisfy my senses, tongue, belly, genital, this driving force becomes absent in the Brahminical way of living, in the Brahminical way of thinking, in the Brahminical way of feeling. The conviction changes. And what is the new conviction? That the desire to be of service. Humanitarianism, philanthropic work, to do good to others, to take pleasure in the happiness of others. It's an illusion because the serving propensity comes into focus as an experience in the heart, to take pleasure in the happiness of others under the direction of a pure devotee, one can be informed that this service is actually meant for God. Now that the serving mood is there in the heart, now Srila Prabhupada says, transfer the account. But in order to transfer the account, there has to be something in the account. If you have two bank accounts and you want to take $100 from one account to the other, there has to be something in the account to transfer. So this serving mood has to be there in the heart. Therefore, we have to come to the mode of goodness and live in the mode of goodness. I had some notes. Yes. So one has to become inward, serene, self-satisfied, the quality of the Brahman. Samodamas Shocham, 1842, in Bhagavad Gita. That first quality, the qualities by which the Brahman works, by which he lives. The first quality is peacefulness of the heart. Sama. This enables one to extricate himself from this madness of looking for satisfaction in material things. Mana prasada, the austerity of the mind in the mode of goodness. Chapter 17, chapter 18, the qualities by which the Brahman lives. Sama, peacefulness. Chapter 18, 51 to 53. In 1851, we have all heard of the Brahma Bhuta platform. What is that? Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. But how does one come to the Brahmanic, to that platform? This is described in verses 51 to 53 of the 18th chapter. If we look at the word for word in 51 to 53, we see these words in Sanskrit. Manasa, controlling the mind. Manasa. Dhyana yoga para, always absorbed. How does he control the mind? Dhyana yoga para, always absorbed in a trance. What is that trance? And how much of that trance? How much is he absorbed in that trance? Nityam. These words are there in 51 to 50. Nityam. Srila Prabhupada says 24 hours a day. Absorbed in controlling the mind, manasa, in such a way that he's always absorbed in a trance, dhyana yoga para. How much? 24 hours a day. And what is that trance? Shanti. These are all the words in 1851. What is Shanti? Peaceful. And how other things in these verses? Free from attachment and hatred. I like this, I don't like that. Free from false ego. Free from pride. Free from lust. And freedom from anger. All of the, so in the purport, Srila Prabhupada's first sentence in the purport is that when one understands how these dynamics work, what are the laws of material nature, he keeps himself in the mode of goodness, because that enables him to, what are these different qualities? On the one hand, very peaceful. On the other hand, freedom from all of these inauspicious material. It is only by being internally satisfied, it is only by being internally peaceful that one can be free from these qualities. It's two ways of express two sides of the same coin. Freedom from anger, freedom from pride, freedom from lust, freedom from attachment, freedom from false ego. Is simply, this freedom is expressions of being self-satisfied internally. And Srila Prabhupada said, this is the mode of goodness, which is when it becomes cultivated. The experience that I'm not this body comes into focus. The experience, this lusty intelligence induces the spirit soul to acquire the false ego. So therefore, when we come to the mode of goodness, this is conducive to freedom from the false ego, means to understand that I'm spirit soul, just like we have in Ishopanishad, the one verse, I think maybe 17, like unto the sun as am I. Like unto the sun. He's describing Krishna, that Krishna is like the sun. But like unto the sun as am I means I have the same quality as Krishna. We begin to experience our beautiful spiritual nature, we become illumined. The light is turned on. We like unto the sun. So this is the Brahma Bhuta platform. Not so chatina, in which there's no hankering, for anything material. No lamentation for loss of anything material. I have nothing to do with these things because I'm not material. I'm spirit soul, like unto the Son, as am I. So, Srila Prabhupada is explaining we have to keep ourselves in goodness. As Srila Prabhupada says, we think, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, meat, fish, eggs, and no gambling. Srila Prabhupada explains in the Krishna book, volume 2, that these are preliminary qualifications for the cultivation of the mode of goodness. Preliminary. But the heart of the mode of goodness is this ability, the qualities by which the real Brahman works. Samo, peaceful. He's peaceful within his heart. He's serene within his heart. He has satisfaction of the mind. He doesn't have to look for it elsewhere. He's free. He's freed. It's a degree of liberation. And so Krishna says that this degree of liberation, what happens, that when one experiences himself like he becomes joyful within, because he's satisfied. Prasanatma. And when he becomes, again, there's two ways to describe everything. We can say, na sochati, na kankshati, no hankering, no lamentation. Or we can say joyful, but they're two sides of the same coin. A person who is joyful, fulfilled within himself, he's not hankering and lamenting about external circumstances. Or we can say a person who is free from hankering and lamentation about external circumstance is happy within himself. They're two sides of the same coin. They're the same thing described in positive and negative terms. But what is the outcome? The first outcome is that one Atmavan Manyate Jagat. One sees the world in terms of the condition of his own heart. Samasarveshu bhuteshu. Not only does he become free of hankering and lamentation and joyful within, but he sees the beauty in all others. He sees everyone equally as spirit soul. And the most wonderful is that Krishna says, when you become prasanatma, when we become joyful within the heart, mad bhaktim labhate param, now you can become a devotee. Now we can become devotees. That's why the mode of goodness is so important. It's illuminating. And it enables one is joyful, he can begin to love. Mad bhaktim. Bhakti means love. That this karma becomes love, which can be a desire to take pleasure in the happiness, the serving mood. Krishna says that from this becoming self-satisfied within our heart, we can begin to love. So then he says, but then that brings us to the subject matter of inquiry, submission, and service. Because how does one learn to love Krishna? 434. Tad vidhi, that knowledge. Krishna says that this knowledge, that this Krishna consciousness is the king of knowledge, Raja Vidya. Idang tu te goyatamang pravaksyami anasuyave. Because you're not envious of me, anasuyave. I'm going to give you this most high, most wonderful knowledge. Raja Vidya Raja Goya. It's the king of knowledge, the king of education. It's the most secret of all secrets. Most confidential knowledge. Why is it most confidential knowledge? Because you don't tell somebody who hates you or someone who's envious of you that if you love me, I'll free you from all these problems you're experiencing in your consciousness, in your life. No, you only tell somebody who's not envious of you. Idang te goyatamang pravaksyami anasuyave. I'm going to give you this knowledge by which you pratyaksha bhagam, you'll have direct experience of your spiritual nature if you take up this knowledge. What is that? Manmana bhava mad bhakto. You just love me. You and I will take away all of this distress. Manmana bhava madhyaji, you worship me. Not your senses, not your social. Mangamaska, you bow down to me. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mangamaska. Mama evaishyasi yukvaivama. I will free you. Atmanam, you approach me with your heart attached to me. Atmanam. Parayana, Narayana Parayana. To become attached to God, to Krishna, to Narayan. So this knowledge, so he says, Tadbidi, 434. You want this knowledge? Where are you going to get it? Tadbidi pranipatena, paraprashnena sevaya, upadekshanti te jnanam, jnaninas tattva darshanaha. The tattva darshani. Tattva is the absolute truth. And darshan is the one who has the darshan of the absolute truth, the pure devotee, Krishna's pure devotee. He has Krishna's darshan eternally. He nitya siddha. He comes from the spiritual world. Shakshadharitina samasta shastrar uktasta tava vyata eva sa kintu prabhoja priya eva tasya bande guroshri. We bow down to such a spiritual master who is the most confidential, intimate servant of the Supreme Lord, of Krishna. We worship him because he has that position. And he can impart this knowledge unto us. Jayatadvidi pranipatena, we bow down to him. Paraprashnena sevaya, inquiry, submission, and service. We inquire from such a spiritual master. Well, what is that inquiry? The inquiry is explained in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. One should inquire about love. Those words are there, word for word. In the process of surrender, the third or fourth item is to inquire about love. So we have to inquire from someone who has that. So inquiry, that is this inquiry. What is this love of Krishna? That is the inquiry. Tadvidi pranipatena paraprashnena. Say, to inquiry and submission. What is that submission? That submission is explained in so many ways in our literature. Prema bhakti ahoite. From him, this love of Krishna emanates. Yeah, just like light emanates from the sun. Sunshine emanates from the sun planet, filling the whole universe. From him, prema bhakti, from him, this love of Krishna emanates. Imagine, he's a container of love of Krishna. We sing this every morning. Then that's one metaphor. Another metaphor is that in 1.5.25 of Bhagavatam, we should imbibe the taste. The word imbibe means to drink. It also, the word imbibition is used in biology, in botany. Imbibition means you put a seed in water and it absorbs. So this is another way that this transfer, learning how to love from someone who has. The first thing was from him, this love emanates like sunlight emanates from the sun. Then we have to be in his presence and imbibe the taste. And then another example is given in the Nectar of Devotion, was that association is like a crystal stone. Like a mirror, in other words. It reflects that that our heart has to be like a clean mirror, mode of goodness. Srila Prabhupada says that reflection can be there in our heart, but the mirror of the heart has to be clean. Srila Prabhupada writes in Nectar of Devotion, mode of goodness. And it enables us to reflect. So what, like the moon, Srila Prabhupada says he wants one moon, not so many stars. One moon, because the moon reflects the light of the sun. So in the same way, if from him this Krishna, love of Krishna emanates like light from the sun, hits the moon like heart of the devotee, it can reflect that same love towards Krishna Loka. From him this love emanates, prema bhakti ahoite. We sing every day. If our hearts are crystal clear in goodness, our hearts can reflect like the moon receives the light of the sun and reflects it and fills the countryside. It's the reflected light of the sun that's lighting up the horizon. The countryside, if our hearts can receive the love of Krishna that's emanating from the pure devotee and reflect that same love towards Krishna, then we become the moon. Like the so Krishna, Srila Prabhupada says that he wants one moon. He said that in 434, Srila Prabhupada said, this blind following is condemned. Doesn't want people a blind following. He wants one moon who can receive the emanation of love and reflect it. Another, he gives another example in the Nectar of Devotion. He says if a man is potent sexually and the woman is clean, that her womb is not diseased, and the man is potent, he says there can be conception. What is Srila Prabhupada comparing that? He's saying that in the same way we can receive, he gives us the seed. The man plants his seed. From seed, when the seed germinates, there become a devotional creeper. It's a seed of devotion, and the man impregnates it. Here, the Prabhupada gives us another metaphor. And that we have to receive the seed and cultivate that seed. Therefore, he says, one moment's association with a pure devotee can save us from the cycle of birth. 1 second, less than a second. Why? Because in that second, if he can plant the seed, which means we have to receive, able to receive, just like our heart can reflect if the mirror of the heart is clean. If the womb of the woman is clean and the man is potent, Srila Prabhupada is potent with this emanation of love. If our hearts are clean, like the womb of the woman, it can be, he can sow his seed. He can impregnate our heart with the taste of love. He can imbibe the taste. Another example, he said, it's like infection. Pure devotion is infectious in the good sense, like an infectious disease. If we have intimate association with someone who carries a germ, that germ can take over our whole body. Become infected. Another metaphor, Srila Prabhupada uses, enrichment. He used this word enrichment in Krishna book for, I think, the 34th chapter, the gopis' feelings of separation from Krishna. He says the spiritual masters enrich the disciple. If you buy flour at the store for making chapati, there's plain flour and there's enriched. There's a certain ingredient that's added. What is the ingredient that the pure devotee puts into our heart? Enriches us with this prema bhakti, with this love. Then also in 1.525, Srila Prabhupada says, what does it mean to become infected with the devotion of the pure devotee? It means, he says, that the disciple, the neophyte, Srila Prabhupada used this word, the neophyte becomes enriched, not advanced. We're not talking about advanced Krishna consciousness. We're talking about the beginning of Krishna consciousness. not, as Srila Prabhupada says in 434, not blind following. But one has to have a living relationship with a pure devotee in order to reflect, in order to become impregnated, in order to become imbibe the taste, in order to become infected. Where Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in one book that there's two clouds, and lightning can go from one cloud to the other. He says this is the relationship of this disciple with the spiritual master. My alarm went off telling me I'm speaking too long. 7 o'clock. So then this is what submission means. Inquiry is, what is this love of Krishna? Submission means everything we're talking about. Submission means able to reflect. Submission means to imbibe the taste. Submission means from him it emanates and we catch it. Submission means to become impregnated. Submission means to become infected. Submission means to become enriched. Submission means to catch that lightning. That's submission. Inquiry, submission, and then service. Service means to engage in the activities of Krishna consciousness with the quality that we have become enriched with the quality that we have imbibed, with the quality that we have become infected with the quality that we can reflect. That is the service. So there's the formula to inquire. I want this love, you show me. Submission means I can catch it. And service means that I engage under, what we say, hackneyed, to engage in Krishna consciousness under the guidance of a pure devotee. That is to engage under the guidance of a pure devotee. To be looking for that understanding from him, tadbidi pranipatena. To be looking for that kind of understanding from him and to be submissive enough to imbibe the taste, to become infected with it, to be able to reflect it, to become impregnated with it. That is all submission. And service means that now I engage under the guidance, under his guidance. Inquiry, submission, and service. So that when Krishna says that, so in order to be able to have that intimate connection with a pure devotee, the heart has to be clean enough. Therefore, mode of goodness. So it enables us to approach him with a loving, open heart, with a joyful heart. Then we become, like Krishna says, when you have prasanatma, brahma nasochati nakangshati, mart bhakti, now you can become devotional. But how? Tadbidi, you have to approach the pure devotee who can share it with you in that way. So this is Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada says in 434, and I'll wrap this up, that one must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master. It's not a mechanical process that if I do this, and that no, it's a relationship. One must be able, 434, one must, unless there is this submission and service, the inquiry from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of this. When he sees that we're really submissive and taking and learning from him, that is what he wants to see. So he says, when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. Blind following is condemned. One must not only hear submissively, but one must get a clear understanding in submission and service and inquiry. And a bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind toward disciple, and therefore when the student is submissive and always ready to render service, when it means when the student is always drinking in the taste of devotion in the association of one who has it, and then engaging in service in that mood. Quote, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiry becomes perfect. So this is the process of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. We're so fortunate. We have a real spiritual master. And now we have a bona fide spiritual master. Now we have to become bona fide disciple. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Haribol Jai. Thank you, Ishan Prabhu, for the lively discussion. We'll spend a few minutes if any devotees have any comments or questions or clarifications. So we got one devotee here, Prahlad Prabhu. 1 second. Okay, Prahlad Prabhu, go ahead. You can unmute.
Okay. Haribol, Hare Krishna, Dhanavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. I wanted to thank you for this lecture has been very nice. I would say it's just all of this comes from realization, everything that you're saying. Because it's, for example, like you could say, I love you, but if you don't have any understanding or meaning or intention behind it, it doesn't really mean anything. That's why, like Srila Prabhupada said, attention to the holy names.
What is the question?
Is much better.
What is your question?
Well, I mean, I thought it was comments. Like I just was saying, thank you very much.
That's okay, but we have, it was his question period.
Yes.
Try to maintain that.
Yes. Okay. So any other questions? Comments, you can email Ishan Prabhu at what's your email address, Prabhu?
Peter, Peter, Ishan Das
Right.
at gmail.com.
Right. Okay. So I think that's it for today's discussion, Ishan Prabhu. We'll see you next week, 5 a.m. my time. And anyone else who'd like to join, please join the WhatsApp group. It's in the link of the videos. Thank you very much to all the devotees for watching.
Hare Krishna.